I don't know about you guys, but as much as the antis love to label people pedophiles for looking at constructs with no bodily autonomy, would it be fair to label the Marxists in anything Marxist adjacent, including the third position or National Socialism, as targets that need to be wiped out when expressing such praxis? Especially considering the fact that the individual is now considered infected when injected with Marxist ideology, framing themselves as the good guy for the poor, for the non-whites, for the non-straights, for the straight white man, for the Pan-African brothers and sisters, or for whatever proletariat skin suit that the Marxist filth, whether it be left-wing or right-wing, slides its meaty roach-like appendages into the culture, subculture, or religious practices that have proven their worth to exist, but they cannot. I would argue that it is justified, since my opponents believe they are justified in demanding state power to issue state-sanctioned genocide under the guise of solving a problem. For these factions facilitate the idea of an adult being able to have sex with a child. As a matter of fact, this crusade of think of the children, in of itself, shows the hypocrisy of those who scream while clutching their pearls made of whatever testosterone is left within their bodies. Shows that whatever men are present in this movement do not, in fact, have the willpower or fortitude to sacrifice themselves for the future generation. Instead, they cling desperately to their lives, trying to find a method of presenting themselves as a good person, a friend, or benefactor, but never a countryman, trying ever so hard to prevent their mortal coil from slipping into the field of war, where the child you are tasked to save may become a doctor, a lawyer, a teacher, or a transgender who reads hypersexualized books like All Boys Aren't Blue or Queer Theory in a room filled with children. You all must acknowledge that within the political divide, no one caught up within the extreme version of their dialectic virtue is going to offer their life. Well, no one who knows the end conclusions of what they promote. As for the dregs of their movement, they will carry the waters. They will carry the rifles with few ammunition. They will be the ones to take the bullet first. And if they succeed, they will be the ones to face the wall while their masters execute the final solution. If the individual is so wrapped up in their dialectical virtue of collectivist filth, and if they cannot seize the means of production, which include the children, then why would one bleed for a vote that can never be obtained to centralize power for themselves? It's a waste of time. In fact, they would argue it's a good thing that those children are being trafficked. For the forfeit of power was never given, but maintained under the protections of individualism. A protection these people wish to strip from all of us. As I stated earlier, as much as antis towards not only Loli and the anime community as a whole, but any art of any historical representation that does not align with their political scope gets the bullet. They get bloodthirsty to kill anime fans, normal people. And it's about time we, not only as a community, and not just this community, but this nation of Americans, not only of Anglo-Saxon, but of the blood of those who were born in this country and those who were legally brought in here without bending the rules, retaliate not in bloodthirst, but in preparation. Do not hunt, but rather take heed and wait. For when the viper rears its head to strike, you end them. Do not wound them. Do not scar them. Do not negotiate. Rather that viper be the antis, the police, the politicians, even your government. You end them. This is not a declaration of war. It is a declaration of self-defense. I am not asking for people to take up arms. I am asking people to put up their arms when arms come flying towards you. Ask yourselves, why are you persecuted for the crime of being an individual? For wanting to be by yourself within the kingdom of your own private property, whether it be home-owned or rented, when the factions that I have mentioned earlier are oftentimes obfuscated, defended, given preferential treatment for raping women and children. Time after time, they have proven to violate the bodily autonomy of children and women. But the blood of that woman or child stained on their genitals and hands are ignored, given light sentences, or just released due to the inadequate investigations of police or vigilantes. But you receive the ire of those demanding justice. It's because they think you easy. Why tackle the Islamist who is willing to self-suicide to obtain 72 virgins who are all 9-year-olds? Why tackle the cartels who is willing to cut your throat and give you a Colombian necktie? Why tackle the Marxist who is willing to erode your bodily autonomy, your sanctity, your pride, your individualism, everything about you, and label you as other for the greater good to fatten the power of the state? So the machinations of his man-made ideology trying to rival God himself can finally show that man, the Aryan, no longer needs God, for they are God. Because they see us as weak. But more importantly, they see us as the one who will end them when they have their way with children by the powers of the state. They fear us as those who will summon the courage to slit the throat of the prowling vipers. Not from just the sight of the viper, but knowing that those vipers are always active in nature or politically, even in places where they don't belong. Time after time, when you pay attention to the behavioral patterns within society, you'll notice a trend of people who don't have a particular taste for a certain subculture or religion. Yet at the same time, the idea of leaving is far beneath them. You see, a common man, when he is within the company of those he does not like, he leaves. And yet, this filth that lives amongst us not only finds the space deplorable to be in, but demands said space be changed to his or her standards of modern living. This is not a common man, but the modernized colonizer, going around amalgamating cultures and subcultures wherever they stick their dirty little Marxist white hands in, or their black lick spittles, whose rear ends are tailored perfectly for their white Marxist masters to slip their hands in and destroy the culture from within. For if it cannot be seized to empower the state, then it must be destroyed. Know that you are not the enemy. You are the solution. As these vipers congregate around Muhammad, who married a 6-year-old girl and had sex with her at the age of 9, as they congregate around the government who dances around the Epstein file of the USA and the grooming gangs of the UK, as they congregate around the teachings of people like Michael Falk, who advocated for boy love, as I quote, "Besides, to die for the love of boys, what could be more beautiful?" As they congregate around John Money, who took pictures of naked underage children and performed unheard experiments on children that led to the demonic creation of transgenderism. As they congregate around those demanding justice, as a child or woman is brutally raped behind them by a skin color that they cannot condemn because of manufactured and weaponized morals of racism. As they congregate as whites, claiming there are no crimes in their neighborhoods, as they commit crimes of raping their women and children because their bodies are the properties of the collective. As they congregate as blacks, yelling that they are oppressed and that because of their oppression, anything is justified because they have no choice. Know this as they congregate in the synagogue of the devil himself. They turn around and have the audacity to call you the demon, you the racist, you the pedophile. And when you strike back in kind, they retreat into the sanctity of the very thing they want to strip from you, property. They retreat into the skin suits that they have appropriated from our species, mankind. They retreat to the confines of their devilish dens that host their ilk. They retreat because they know they will perish if they bring the fight to an even playing field, which is why they cling to the only hope they have left to give them a fighting chance, the state. When a man is eager to curse the weak, but holds his tongue and or speaks carefully against a power that is insurmountable, that is not a man. That is a boy. For when your so-called hero faces these factions, know this, they will betray you. Because they have become too accustomed, drunk, off of being a hero against the weak instead of for the weak. I'll admit I can be wrong for calling them by these factions, but the truth of the matter that sticks so well to their being is that they are cowards who lust for power. And when power is on the menu, no one is safe, except those with the knowledge of the gnosis that understands the inconclusions of what they concoct. The defense of Loli is the defense of all historical creations. The banning of Loli is the banning of the Bible, the Statue of David, the 16th Chapel, and any other works of creation. They drive the demon ilk mad with envy that they cannot compete. If watching anime makes me a pedophile, then them being anywhere near Marxism deserves ire equal to what they dish out. Being anywhere near the Quran deserves the same ire they dish out. But these are beliefs, they'll scream, and my response, well, this is just a show. Funny how the beliefs filled to the brim with justifications of marrying children get all the protections from the state. Your young son can read the Quran, but he can't watch My Hero Academia. He can participate within the trafficking of young children for the cartels, but don't you dare watch Lupin III. They can come up with all sorts of logic for abandoning the Epstein files, but if you watch One Piece, they are telling you who they are. And no, I am not talking about the Jews. But these factions don't get threats. The identities receive the threats. But the factions remain unharmed, untacked. They get protections from the machinations of mainstream media, and yes, even YouTube. And yes, even your beloved YouTuber who is complicit in some way. If it can happen at CNN, it can happen with them. Media is, in fact, media after all. A network of intricate webbing that, if traversed incorrectly, makes you a fly in their web. You get the threats because we are surrounded by demons. Demons so angry at God that they cannot wait to prove that God is no longer needed and that heaven is here on earth and the imperfections of man made that heaven. And if killing over 300 million people is going to make it happen, they will do it. Anyone outside those factions gets the threat. But anyone within the factions receives the baptism, the blessings, and the protections of the state. For these protections for the children are not out of concern, they are out of spite. And when you are passing laws and legislations out of spite, there is no best interest for the common man. Only the oligarchs of this country. For I have never seen in my life a hero so mad to pull a victim out of a fire they didn't start. Thank you.